trying to give you a status update on Tim and cancer and kind of where we're at with our cancer journey. Right now I'm driving. I think it's hilarious that I do these videos while I'm driving because it's absolutely not a great view of myself, and I really don't care because my goal here is just to kind of keep you attuned to what's going on, and this is just real. Like, I spend a lot of my time shuttling kids to and fro and getting myself to and from work, and when we decided to buy a farm and do the kind of life that we set out to do or live on a farm, the commuting piece was not a piece that we were like fully wrapping our minds and hearts around at the time. And last spring it was sort of like, well, what's sustainable, and is this even sustainable, and what are we doing? And then cancer arrived, and it was like, okay, well, we're not doing anything else different now because we have this to deal with. And so thank goodness for all the wonderful people who helped me get into a more fuel efficient vehicle. And so I have more to say about that journey, but for right now I just want to share with you that Tim was diagnosed about 9 months ago, just shy of 9 months ago, and he was diagnosed at stage 3 multiple myeloma with renal failure. He had his stem cell transplant in November, and then in January he started teclistamab, which was kind of the final stop drug because nothing was really keeping his numbers down. Everything he did, no matter what, it's like they would come down and then they'd pop back up again. And he really was not doing well. We almost lost him sometime last fall. And so now we're in this whole new space and place where he's actually doing well. I would say he's kind of on the edge of shifting from surviving to beginning to thrive in some ways again. He's making bread, he's helping with some errands, he did a little laundry this week. He's kind of back in the game in terms of helping to do things on our farm. This morning I went out to feed the chickens and I noticed that the whole bag of feed had been emptied into the feed container, and I know nobody else did that but him. Earlier this week we had snow melt and some flooding happen that went into the basement, and he carried the dehumidifier from the upstairs level all the way to the basement. I couldn't carry that thing, it was so heavy. So he's put on 6 pounds from his low of 120, so he's now up to 126. He normally, his normal weight is around 155, 157. So he's heading in the right direction, and that's really good. And I've kind of like put on hold, per his request, a lot of thoughts around, well, what do we do with our farm? We have this, it's a small 5-acre farm property, but it sits in the middle of a bunch of other farm properties, and we bought it with the intention of having farm-to-table cooking events, educational dining experiences, and eventually we wanted to open our space up for farm stays. And and I really wanted to have a space to host small retreats. And so now we're back in this place of like looking at our space again, and I've really just given myself space to feel in my heart what's right for us. And we're kind of like, our girls are in school in one direction, I work in a different direction, and that didn't happen initially. That happened as a result of COVID and pandemic and whole schooling situation, and finding kind of what's the right best fit for them and for us. And And that was a good switch. And now as we're like, I'm just I can breathe again, and I can look around at the space we're in. And what's really moving in my heart is to open our space up somehow for people to come and stay, and to have farm experiences, and to learn about small scale kind of regenerative permaculture agriculture. We are not experts at it. We're learning, but there's something really, I think, informative about being in, we're just a few steps ahead of where other people might be if they're just starting out. And so we've learned a ton, and we have a lot to teach. So I connected this week with a group of women through Wisconsin Women in Conservation, and through them I'm getting access to a bunch of resources. One is a weekend, very inexpensive kind of farm school for kind of the business side of your farm, and I'm thinking of going to that because I think it will open up my eyes to options and possibilities to kind of help our farm, first of all, to connect with the resources that are out there that are available to us, and also to kind of really figure out what are we doing with this farm that we have now that our lives are a little different than they were when we started out, or a lot different. It's interesting because each time we've kind of looked at leaving, I feel this tug of the land on my mind, my heart. I just feel pulled to care for it, and pulled to kind of continue doing the things that we do in our space. What's been really interesting to notice is, so we're surrounded by a lot of kind of mono agriculture crops that are kind of small, and they rotate their crops each year, but on our piece of land it's sort of this oasis for a lot of bird life and a lot of wildlife to come through, and I really want to make it a sanctuary for not only for us and for people who come to stay, but for the wildlife who pass through our space. And I want to learn how to do that better. And it feels it feels doable. It feels a lot like learning how to let it go and let it kind of return to the way nature would just have it be if we weren't intervening too much. But I feel in this space of wrestling with how do we be on this planet in this interesting time where everything is shifting and changing, and learning to be with your land, and learning to be with the land. I don't want to say your land. It's not our land. We just live on it. But it has so much to teach me, and I think in turn it teaches me how to teach others about it as well. So I don't know, it's kind of what's moving in my heart right now. Have a lot of paint on my hands. I was painting just before I popped in the car to pick up Anna, and I'll go back to finishing that up. I'm finishing up the third room, and I've got 2 more to go. So with each stroke of paint, I keep just envisioning what's going to happen in that space and who will come to join us there. And I feel happy to be dreaming again. I feel happy that our dream is still alive, and that we can put energy towards it again. And I think it's the dream that kept him alive before he was diagnosed. I think it kept him going for a long time when his body probably would have stopped had he not had that to keep him going. And then I think it's kept him going because every day he wakes up and he looks out and he sees this space that he yearns to cultivate and nurture. And I can feel energy kind of starting to move in him again in that direction. And that gives him meaning and purpose in this crazy time. And I think we all need meaning and purpose. We all need something to wake up for. We need something to pull us through hard times. And having a vision that is filled with meaning and purpose and that calls us into a state of thriving is, I think that's an essential part of how we thrive as human beings. All right, it's 11 minutes into this video, so I'm going to stop and just wish you a lovely day. And thanks for being with us on our journey. Peace.